PHEO, PHEO, acronym for People Helping Each Other, a 501c3 organization, believes in social impact investing. Having developed many business opportunities in Africa, we asked Alex John, a cattle farmer that manages 13,000 head of cattle for the Seminole Indians, to take a trip to Africa to see if he saw a way his skill sets could be used to capitalize on some of the opportunities in Africa as it relates to food and farming opportunities. Alex, what's your responsibility here at the cattle farm?
First of all, my name is Alex Johns. I'm a rancher here in South Florida, and I've had the fortunate opportunity to be employed by the Seminole Tribe of Florida. And my job here is I'm the Assistant Natural Resource Director for the Seminole Tribe's agricultural program. On a day-to-day basis, my job duties are taking responsibility for a large ranch in Glades and Highlands County, overseeing 5,000 head of our 13,000 total head of cattle. What I do is my responsibility is to take care of the cows, basic husbandry, helping with the veterinarian practices, helping with marketing, helping with the cooperative agreement that we have set up with our tribal members. So we basically do everything under the sun for our cattle operators. We manage all the cattle on a daily basis and help with all the things that it takes to get cattle to the marketplace. So that's what I do on a daily basis. I recently had the opportunity to go with Julius over to Africa. They told me about the situation over there and the opportunities that may exist. So I just took it upon myself to book a flight and fly over with Julius, see it for myself. And all I can say is there's nothing like seeing it with your own eyes. The opportunities that exist for cattle ranching and farming in DRC Africa is unbelievable. I can only compare the grass that I've seen over there to the plains of Kansas, except that it's probably 10 times as big. I didn't see one cow while I was there, even though I know there's cattle around, but it's unexploited territory as far as cattle ranching goes. I found the people to be real receptive and welcoming to our group. I believe that there's a lot of potential opportunity in Africa, and I feel fortunate to be a part of this group going over and trying to establish cattle ranching as a source of income for the folks in Africa as well as a source of food. With that said, Julius, that's my opinion of my trip to Africa.
Thank you very much, Alex. As you mentioned the co-op, I'm going to ask you to speak just a little bit about what you saw as a possibility for replicating in Africa, DRC, what you have here in terms of co-op, just so the audience would understand the potential benefits of that.
Okay, what I'll do as far as the situation I'm involved with here with the Seminole tribe, I am a Seminole tribal member. My family's been in the cattle business for many years. The situation that we have here in the Seminole tribe, I see a potential of replicating this in Africa. Basically, you're working with tribes of people or families of people, different villages. What we've done here, I'm going to use Brighton for an example. We have 40 different families that have 40 different allocated plots of land. They all sign a cattle raisers agreement that binds them to working with our group to make sure that there is a consistent management practices being followed. And that is our responsibility to make sure those are done. So I see the potential to go to Africa, set up the same situation using local communities, local families, giving them an agreement to abide by, which would in turn help them produce a product that is consistent, because consistency is key in cattle production. So what I see is the potential to get over there and set up the same situation with a cooperative atmosphere that's going to give them marketing power, purchasing power, in their cattle operations. And in numbers, numbers there's power. So as many people as we can get working together with like minds and working towards the same goals, I think we'll make a lot bigger stride in getting cattle operations successful in Africa.
Thank you, Alex. Now, one of the things that you, I'm sure, thought about before you ever left the U.S. for Africa was the safety. In fact, I know that there was a gentleman who sent you an email about the dangers, being kidnapped and so forth. What was your perspective after you arrived in Africa? What was your perspective's contrast to your perspective before you left?
Well, my opinion before I left the States here, everyone that I talked with told them where I was going. Africa as a whole is generally looked at, by my peers as, a safe place to go as long as you watch where you're going. But when I told them the country I was actually going to, raised a lot of red flags with folks. I did some studying on the internet, and lots of bad stuff's being said about DRC. I can say today that most of what I've seen over there and the stuff that's on the internet is just propaganda. I didn't see any negative reception towards me in Africa. Everyone that I met with a positive attitude, real welcoming people. I'm not saying that there isn't dangers in Africa. There's dangers here, 5 miles down the road. So I think there's, isolated situations that happen there, but they get all the publicity. And I'm sure if you ask someone in DRC if they would like to come to America, they'd probably see all the propaganda that the press spreads here. You always see the bad stuff and rarely see the good. So I would have to say that I felt safe the whole time I was there. I was quite surprised at the reception that we got. I felt just as safe going there as I would have me going to my local town here. The folks were really nice. The accommodations were nice. I'm not going to sit here and try to fluff it up. These people need help. It's a poor country, and there's a lot of help that they need. But I see us going over there and providing that help, and I didn't ever fear for my safety.